Well, welcome. Just a quick overview of what we're going to utilize in the practice today. This practice, we're going to just kind of be really cozy, just a feel-good stretch and a restorative. It's great to do towards the end of the work week or right before bed or just any time that you're just feeling a little bit of overwhelm. When we have that adrenal overwhelm, adrenal fatigue, that we want to kind of work some of this stuff out of the body. So this is going to be a very grounding practice. We're not going to be doing any jumping around or moving too much. So for this, for as far as props go, 2 blocks or books, if that's what you have handy at home, will be just great. And then if you have a yoga bolster or a pillow, couch cushion, that is great to have, but is not totally necessary. I'm going to show some ways that we can use the blanket instead. So blanket and or bolster, just whatever you have handy, but definitely needing those blocks or books, blanket for sure, bolster kind of optional. So let's go ahead and get started. And since this is kind of a cozy practice, just a welcoming of the colder weather that's getting ready to come, you can just wear maybe a sweater or something like that. Might want to wear socks on your feet. We're not going to be up too much. And also, one of the things I like to do is right before practices like this, I like to have some essential oils, maybe something like lavender, or something that's just a little soft to kind of help me get into the sensory side of it. So if you have any of those things handy, that's great to have. It's not totally necessary, but just a little added benefit. Go ahead and just welcome ourselves to the mat. We're going to bring the hands together at heart center, closing the eyes down. And just taking a few moments here to welcome ourselves to our space and create this little globe around us, this little space of serenity, a little space of recovery, maybe discovery. Together, let's take in a nice deep inhale in through the nose. And an open mouth exhale, release and just let everything go. Again, great big deep inhale. And an exhale, let it go. One more time, inhaling in. Exhale, release and slide it all out. Releasing the hands down to the tops of the knees. Let's just dip the chin down towards the chest. Hold it here for a minute. Rolling shoulders down and away from the ears. Just checking in to the back of the neck. And we're going to do some neck work at the end of our practice as well. I just want to check here and see how it's feeling. And then we'll check in at the end, kind of a little sandwich here. Feel the effects of our work. Very slowly raise the chin up towards the sky and open in the throat. Feel that broadening the collarbones as you breathe in deep. And then return the head back to center. So for our first posture that we're going to be holding, we're going to take these blocks or books, whatever you have, and then taking that blanket, if you have a bolster, this is one option to use that between the legs. We're going to come into a supported butterfly pose. And taking that block in between the foot right here, so I'm taking the block or book and putting it right between the feet, and then placing the block on top of it, and a blanket, and or that bolster. So whatever you have handy, I'm going to keep with the blanket, just so that if this is what you have at home, which is very common, then this is a great thing to have. So go ahead and shift and adjust and get yourself so that you're really kind of squaring up with this little prop. Mine is kind of rocking and rolling all the way around, but once I come down, we'll be able to hold it. So taking a hold of the shins, let's just find a few movements before we land down into this posture. So I'm going to use the legs, the shins right here, to hold on to for a few moments and just find a few of these little cat-cows, adjusting in the spine. And then when you're ready, go ahead and start to bring that chest down, taking a hold of the feet or that blocks in front of you. And just take a few moments to kind of shift and adjust so that you can find this nice comfortable space, because we're going to be here for several minutes and several breaths. So we want to make sure that we are in a spot where we can relax down. If it feels too claustrophobic to bring the forehead down onto the props, then just simply turn the cheek to one side. And about midway through, I'll let you know and we'll switch to the other side. So take your time to kind of find that perfect positioning. And if it doesn't feel good, if it feels like there needs to be some adjustments throughout, it's fine to do that. Listen to your body and come on down into that space where you can feel support and comfort. Layer the breath on top of that space. Truly thinking about what you can let go of here. One thing I should mention, if this is uncomfortable for you to have those knees out into that butterfly position, you can always take them out long and just use this as a seated forward fold. So find again that space that you can be in and just let yourself drape over and relax and release. Great time to do a little body scan and check in if there's a space that you're holding tension. Maybe it's in a space that you're not thinking of. Maybe it's in the face or the hands or the feet. See if you can let go of all of that tension. And important to let go of those expectations of how you're supposed to be feeling here. I find it's difficult just to jump into a yin practice and think that the mind is just going to automatically quiet and the body is automatically going to be happy with where you're pressing it into. But just accept that sometimes the body is not really welcoming the quiet, the wind down. See if you can soothe out those spaces with a reminder that you are supported and safe. If you have the cheek turned to one side, go ahead and turn to that opposite side. We're here for just a little bit longer. A few more of those long, deep breaths. If you are turned on your cheek, slowly bring the head back to center and take your time. Very important to press ourselves up slow, slow, slow. Take the hands to the outside of the knees and just draw those knees in together for a moment. Now we're going to walk the feet as wide as the yoga mat. Place the hands down onto the earth and just a few gentle windshield wiper movements side to side. Dropping the knees into center, getting that external rotation in the hips. Beautiful. We come around to our hands and knees for a moment here. This is a great time if you want to use that blanket underneath the knees to pad them up. So using that blanket or towel just to give a little cushion. I always say one area I don't have extra cushion is on those knees. So, bringing that down. We're going to come into a supported puppy posture. So taking the blocks, we're going to utilize these blocks. I'm going to put mine on the lowest setting, and this is something that you can kind of play around with too. This is really great for the neck. So we're going to bring those forearms or those elbows down on top of those blocks, and then start to wiggle the hips up towards the sky, like it's our little puppy tail. And then we're going to rest our forehead down onto the earth. It's a very generous back bend here. So just test it out and see. Maybe you want to go a little bit higher with those blocks. Or maybe it's just too intense to have the blocks at all. And since this is a restorative practice, since this is a just let go, juicy practice, I want you to let go of holding that belly in. So it's a little opposite of what I normally say. But just let that belly release against the top of the thighs. Let the head melt down and the shoulders open here. Feel free to make any adjustments you need to find that space that's working for you in this practice or in this pose. It's also called a melting heart pose. So think about your heart just melting down, releasing any heaviness, releasing anything that might be dragging you down. If the mind starts to wander, see if you can bring it back to the breath. Back to this present moment. Back to the sensations in the body. We're here for 3 long, deep breaths. Slowly take your time to raise back up, walking the hands underneath the shoulders. We come into this tabletop position. Just pause here for a moment, letting the energy shift in the body. I mentioned quite a lot in our yin practices. Normally we feel the effects after we come out of the practice as opposed to when we're in the pose. It could be both. Sometimes it's more after when you feel that effect. Let's go ahead and just do a few very slow cat-cows. Take your time to feel along the length of the spine as you round and press into the earth. And as you release that belly down and peek up. Setting up for our next pose, we're going to have a supported thread the needle posture. So this one is a little bit different than we normally do, where I'm going to bring my hips down towards the heels. I'm going to give you a couple options with that once we get in there, or you can stay in that tabletop position. But for the adjustment of the hands, this block is going to be used, one block is going to be used under the forehead, and the other block is going to be used for that hand that's normally extended out front. So starting, let's go ahead and start with taking that left hand up skyward, and then we're going to draw it across the body and plant it down, sinking that tailbone down, or if you prefer to stay up into more of a tabletop position. So adjusting the blocks, I'm going to place one block underneath the forehead, and that opposite block, or that block is on that opposite hand, so it's underneath my right hand. And then we're getting this twist in the upper back, as well as that really good stretch in the shoulder. Feel free to kind of wiggle the hips into a posture that feels okay for you. And when you find that space where you can be comfortable for the next few moments, just add the breath. And feel the breath travel along the back side of the body. Notice if you're holding any tension in either one of the hands, and see if you can release that tension. Ask yourself if there's a space in the body that you can soften. If you can release and let go. And take one more long, deep breath. Inhaling in and exhaling out. Taking the extended hand, bringing it alongside of the face, press the palm into the earth and slowly come back up. We're just going to find a little gentle movement in that hand that was underneath. So moving into the left hand, maybe rolling out the wrists. And then place the palm back down, moving any of the props out of the way. We're going to go to that other side in just a moment, but let's give those hips a little bit of a break here by just kind of shifting them side to side. It's a little wag of the tail. Moving intuitively, moving organically in ways that feel good in your body. And then we'll set up to thread the needle on that opposite side. So I'm going to sink my hips back down towards the heels. Taking the block now over to that left side of the mat. Taking right hand, guiding it underneath the body, and then bringing the forehead or that temple down onto the block. Extending right or left hand out long and using the block to prop it up. And if this is too much for the hips to be back into this child's pose position, just stay tall. Another option is to take that blanket or towel and place it between the knees, between the thighs and the back of the calves. And noticing how the shoulder feels different than the other side. Noticing if we can really use that breath to send it to tight spaces. Really feel all four corners of the lungs and the ribs open up as you breathe in deep. Maybe ask yourself if there's something that you're holding on to or gripping. You can release and let go. We're here for just a few more moments. Taking your time to slowly bring that left hand alongside the face, press it into the earth, release that arm, and just give it a little shake out, a little roll out. And then when you're ready, place the palms down onto the earth. We're just going to go into one downward facing dog here. So walk the hands in front of the shoulders, tuck the toes underneath, and raise the hip points up. And just a few moments of maybe pedaling out. Just again, shifting the energies in the body. Feeling this full body stretch for a few moments. Release the knees down to the earth. And then we're going to come over to our back side. So props, keep them handy. We're going to utilize our blankets first. Or our towel, whichever you have. So taking our blanket or towel, I'm just going to create a little roll here. So it's a pretty good, decent size long roll. And I'm going to bring the soles of the feet together, just like we had when we were seated earlier. And I'm going to tuck them underneath. So creating this little pretzel shape, but holding on to the ankle area. I have this cross over the top, and then you'll feel that support underneath of having the blankets so that it is padded up instead of being on the earth. Options to take the blocks and place them under the knees as well. And we're just going to lower ourselves all the way down to the earth. Take your time to get down there. And kind of shift and adjust. Taking those blocks underneath the thighs if you'd like to have them there. And just kind of feel that support. If it doesn't feel like the feet are being very supported, just snuggle that blanket in a little bit more. So we're finding a bind with the blanket. And then I'm going to bring my hands underneath the back of the head. So interlacing the fingertips and supporting the back of the head. Elbows are out wide. It's mirroring the way that my knees are right now. And when you find that space, go ahead and close the eyes down. And just feel the support of the props and the earth beneath you. Invite that long, deep breath. And channeling the support. Recognizing where you are right now today. And knowing wherever that is perfectly okay. Make sure that there's no gripping in the face or tightening in the brow or jaw area. Noticing the traveling of the breath. You can take it from belly, chest, collarbones, and then reverse the path, collarbone, chest, belly. Inhaling into belly, chest, collarbone. Exhaling collarbone, chest, belly. Here for just a few more moments. Gently releasing the hands from behind the head if that's where they're at. Releasing blocks from underneath the thighs. Take the hands and guide those knees back in towards each other. Kind of moving that blanket out of the way. Walking feet as wide as the yoga mat. Let's just take a moment to let the knees fall in towards each other. So we get that reverse from having them out. Now we have the knees teepeed in towards each other. Releasing the lower sacrum, lower back. And then go ahead and walk the feet in line with the hips. And we're going to utilize that block or book that you have handy. And we're going to come into a supported bridge, but we're not going to hold just the bridge for a minute. We're actually going to work into the hip flexors a little bit. So you can even use a blanket underneath if this block or book feels uncomfortable. We're bringing it right along the sacrum area, so that heart-shaped area, right below the spine and right above the glutes. So no pinching there. All right, let's get into our hip flexors a little bit. Taking that right knee in towards the chest, just hold and squeeze the knee in here. And if you do feel pinching with that lower back, then you can remove the block. Or another option, just to get a little bit deeper, is to stack an extra block or fold that blanket so you're up a little bit higher. So find what's working for you. Taking that knee in towards the chest. Hold and squeeze. Another option is maybe to use that blanket underneath the back of the head, between the shoulders. Just take a few moments. Squeezing the knee in. As for the opposite leg, it can stay bent with the sole of the foot down on the earth, or maybe you just want to test it out and start to straighten it down towards the base of the mat. Just a few more moments on the side. Very slowly release that knee back down. If you have that leg straight on the other side, go ahead and to bring it back in so both knees are folded. And then just take a moment here just to feel the effects. Opposite leg, we're going to bring that in towards the knee, towards the knee, towards the chest. Ooh, that was some really interesting throwing body parts all over the place. Guess I'm getting too relaxed here. Bring that knee into the chest on that opposite side. And again, test it out. Maybe you just want to have that one block underneath the sacrum, 2 blocks, that blanket, or nothing. You might want to just be having, you just might want to have that lower back onto the earth. Noticing how the side differs from the other. We're here for just a few more moments. Now releasing that knee back down onto the earth. We're going to bring both knees in for just a moment. So I still have my back on this block, but I'm just bringing both knees in for a moment, squeezing them in. And then when you're ready, straighten the legs up towards the sky. So I'm going to adjust my block. It's traveling on me a little bit. So keeping that block, blanket, or book underneath the sacrum area, legs are skyward now. Roll the shoulders down so that that chest is broadening right here. And we're just pressing the feet as if we're stepping on the ceiling. Such a great way to give the heart a much needed break by releasing the blood flow, having it go in the opposite direction, guiding it down. This is so good to get all that lymphatic fluid that kind of pulls up and just sits around the ankles after long periods of standing or sitting. So just take a few moments. This is always a great thing to do at nighttime or just any time if you have a break throughout the day. But it's always nice to do if you can prop the legs up against the wall or maybe up against your bed. Just taking a few moments to totally reverse the direction of the blood flow and energy here. Feeling the rise and the fall of the belly as you breathe deep. Slowly bend the knees, release the soles of the feet down onto the earth, press into the feet to remove that prop from underneath the back. Just take a moment here with the knees bent and the feet on the ground and just feel the difference of the back side of the body here. I feel like my back is a little flatter against the earth, a little more open. Now I'm going to utilize that blanket once again. Get this down by my feet. So create a blanket, or create a blanket, weave a blanket real quick. Create a blanket or create a roll with a blanket. You can use that same roll that you had just a moment ago for the feet, for our bind there, or you can make it a shorter roll. We're going to place this right below the shoulder blades. Set this up. So right below the shoulder blades, and then I'm just going to let my shoulders roll down, and really I'm trying to keep that heart space higher than any parts of the body. If it's too intense, keep the knees bent, or you can straighten them out long. And if it's too intense because that roll in the blanket is too high, just take a roll out of it. And so then test out with the arms here. It might feel good just to keep them alongside the body. Or maybe a cactus shape, a goalpost shape here feels good. Or maybe you want to extend the hands above the head. And you don't have to stay in one position. You might want to test one out for a little bit and say, okay, that feels good, but let me try something else. If legs are extended out long, just allow the feet to fall out towards the sides of the mat. So heels towards each other, toes fall out. And just enjoy the support again here. Opening up that heart space, melting the shoulders down the back onto the earth. Thinking if there's a space in the body that you can soften just a little bit more. That you can open yourself up to receiving. To releasing. To just being. And just opening up any congestion that might be around the heart. If you have the arms raised above the head or in that T shape, bring them back down alongside the body. Slowly bend one knee and then the other, and we're not coming all the way up. Well, we're coming up for just a moment to shift and adjust. So just go ahead and come to one side in a fetal position and press yourself up just to readjust our props here. Now I'm going to utilize this blanket and bring it up a little bit higher so that it's going to be underneath the neck. And I'm going to utilize the blocks and bring them underneath my knees. So blocks are coming underneath the knees, and then head is resting on top of this blanket. And you can utilize that roll underneath where you have that curvature of the lower part of the head to the spine area. I usually have issues with the ponytail, that always seems to be in the way. And we're just going to find this rest and relaxation posture for a few moments. And then we'll get up and do a little bit more work into the neck area. Remove the tongue from the roof of the mouth. Just let everything go. And if the mind starts to tell you stories about how you have too much to be doing, to be just resting here, remind yourself that this is exactly where you need to be right now. That you're creating space and showing yourself love and gratitude for showing up for yourself. Here for just a little bit more time. Invite a little gentle movement into the body. We're going to slowly bring those feet back up. Careful of any props that are in the way. Rolling over to one side. One more adjustment with our props. Come on up for just a minute. And then taking our blanket, and we're going to create just right back to kind of a square here. Taking the blocks, and I'm just going to bring them alongside my hip. So taking the legs, you can either stack them here, or you can even have them in our deer pose, where we have the foot lined up with the top of the knee. Doesn't need to be super deep, or it can just be stacked on top of each other. Taking that blanket on top of the blocks, so now I've created a bolster, or if you have a bolster, you can use that bolster. So snuggle the hip up towards the top of this blanket, or the bottom of the blanket. We're going to turn the torso and then just melt down into a twist here. Coming onto whatever cheek feels good. If you want to have it towards the front of the body, it's not going to be as intense of a twist as if you peek over that back shoulder. That's a little bit more of an intense twist. So notice what it feels good for you. And see if you can just drape the center of the chest right across this prop. And breathe into this nice twist. Send the breath all the way down to that bottom of the back, down to that sacrum area. And check in with the shoulders. See if you're starting to tense up in the shoulders. See if you can just relax and let them go. The palms can be face down for support, but maybe it feels good just to turn them up skyward so that we're not invertedly starting to support ourselves with the hands and the shoulders. We're here for 3 more breaths. Turn the palms down towards the earth. Very slowly press yourself back up, coming into that seated position for a moment, feeling that flush of energy, feeling that shift of energy. So we're going to go do that twist on the other side. You can just turn. I'm going to actually turn my props so that I don't have to turn away from the camera. And again, knees can be stacked on top of each other, or you can take them into a deer position where that top of the foot or the top of the leg is right below the sole of the foot. Snuggling our bolsters, blankets, whatever we have here alongside the hip, and then just turn the body and melt down here, draping the chest across the props. And notice the ear towards the front alongside the body is a little bit less intense. Or you can try it and turn towards the back side of the body. Just whatever feels okay with the neck and the spine. And again, invite that breath, that long, deep, nourishing breath to flow through the entirety of the body. Relax the shoulders. Maybe ask yourself, what can you let go of here? Is there something that you are holding on to you no longer need? That is no longer serving you? Take your time pressing into the palms as you very slowly rise all the way back up to seated. Take the legs and bring them around to the front and come into a comfortable seated position. You can always use that blanket underneath the bum. Just taking time to once again feel the energy shift and adjust in the body. And whether you're sitting in easy pose with the legs, I'm using blocks underneath the knees just to kind of keep with this restorative idea of the practice. Let's very simply dip the ear over towards that right side. Taking the right hand alongside the left ear, right above the ear, holding on to that temple side. So no pulling or dragging here, just a little extra gravity. If you have that hand alongside of the head, gently release it, bring it to the other side of the head, and help guide the head back up to center. Release the palm down, and then we'll just dip the ear over now to that left side. Left hand can come alongside, right above the ear, and just help guide the head down just a little bit more, feeling into the neck, feeling into the top of that trap. No pulling or tugging. Releasing the head from, or the hand from the head, gently bring it to the other side of the cheek and press the head back up to center. Release the hand down. We're just gonna find a few neck rolls, either half neck rolls or full neck rolls, whatever feels good here. And if you are practicing full neck rolls, go ahead and reverse the direction. Returning head back to center, we're going to interlace the fingertips and just bring it underneath the chin. So thinking about that little pose that you do as a child, a little angel pose. And then holding right here, just kind of create this basket. We're going to make a fist and then just bring it underneath the chin and look skyward. Again, flatten out the hands, but keep the fingers interlaced and just let it dip down. Making a fist, pressing it underneath the chin, pressing up. And one more time, straightening out the hands, keeping them interlaced. Make this little basket. And create that fist, press it underneath the chin, support the head. Release the hands from underneath the head, roll, or from underneath the chin, roll the shoulders up towards the ears and relax it down. Again, shrug shoulders up towards the ears and let it go. Hands come into heart center, pressing palms together, taking one more deep inhale, exhale here. Inhale. And an exhale to seal our practice. I hope your body is feeling restored and refreshed, feeling good all over. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and thank you for joining me. Namaste.